Now, for all of you tuning in for the first time, we are making face masks. They are not medical grade face masks. They're just made of whatever cabbage or scrap fabric you have lying around. You can get the pattern on our Discord channel by joining our Discord channel and going to Craft Share. It is a very simple but adaptable way to make a face mask. And remember, your face mask protects me, my face mask protects you. So you should wear it when you're feeling unwell, not necessarily when you're not sick, but we don't know who is sick because you could have no symptoms and still carry COVID-19. So since they're not testing everyone, we have to assume everyone is sick. So if you want to be cautious and considerate, feel free to wear these while you're out and about. Grocery shopping, because that's all that's open. I've never heard the term cabbage for fabric. Yes, cabbage is this part. The fabric that is left over from, like, you have a big sheet of fabric and then you take what you need for your pattern and all the scrap fabric is called cabbage. It's the garbage, which is funny because John and I call garbage cabbage just to be funny. So, yeah. But now you learned something. It's called cabbage, but that's why a lot of people don't know that term. So that's why I keep on saying fabric scraps, aka cabbage. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We have loaded our sewing machine with fabric and a bobbin, so I'm good to go. Hopefully you're good to go. If you're doing it by hand, just make sure to have, long enough thread to do this, but not get it all tangled up. So we have cut out our fabric, and I'll show you what we have right now. Give me a second to adjust the camera for you. Okay, so our pattern is here. Now this is the pattern that you'll get on Discord. Some notes about this pattern. It's for this type of mask. So it's not the square one or the square with the two trapezoids, it's just the trapezoidal mask. And you will need to flip it. So, two notes about this actually. So when you cut your fabric, the side that you want to show, you'll need two of this side for the outside and then the inner liner. So it's not the ugly side, if you will, the wrong side showing. It's the pretty side showing. And then you'll need it for this side, and then also you'll need to flip it for this side. So you'll need two of each side. You'll need to flip this pattern. In addition, depending on what you have on hand, because the stores aren't open, let's go through the types of binding. So once you have the center bit, here's your choices. You can have this, which is elastic that goes all the way around. So you can have the elastic go all the way around, and then you leave, I'm going to measure it to be sure, but like 3 inches on the side as a loop, and then you continue all the way around, leave 3 inches and end. You do these ends first, and then you do the big circle. So basically, the ears and this whole thing is one long string. It's one big circle. You could do it that way, or you can just fold over your fabric. Instead of having like a binding tape or elastic on the edge, you can just fold it over like this so it's got a clean edge. And then just do the ends. So for that, you would put your elastic in like this, and then leave a D. I'm covering it, sorry. Like that. Black on black's hard to see, I'm sorry, I know. Or, let me put this fabric there that way you can see what I'm doing. Like that. Or, you can loop, and if you don't want any sort of visible elastic, say it's like you only have black fabric but white and you don't want it to be whatever, you can fold over the end here. So imagine this is folded over like that. And you can loop it through almost like a belt. So that would be there. Like that. And then you tie it through here so that and then it's like that. Or you can loop it up through here, and then these on either end go around your head and tie in the back. There's many different ways, and those aren't the only ways. You can loop it however you like. If you want it around your ears, you can either do one big thing, or you can just do this area. If you want it to go around your head, you can just tie it here and then just tie it in the back in those two spots. All up to you how you want to do it. If you want to put a band, then we can sew a band there, and then you can just do a whole band. Totally up to you, whatever style you want. That's why you make your own masks. You can make it yourself. For this, because the fabric is so pretty, and I don't have much elastic, and I don't want to waste a lot of material, I'm going to just fold over the tops and not put binding tape or elastic around it, and then just loop it. I'm going to do the easiest, so this is truly beginner. So we're basically going to take this, and we're going to make like a pocket for it, and we're going to sew along here and make loops. So if you will, we'll make like a loop, right? And we'll sew this loop shut for our ear. And then we'll just tuck this into like a little pocket there. And that will be the edge for our ear. I think that's the beginner friendly way to do it. So that's what I'm going to do. But now I realize as I say that, the second note about this fabric, this pattern, is that if you are doing what I'm going to do, you should give yourself a seam allowance on the top and the bottom. So this is exactly what's showing, this thing here. But if you're not doing binding tape or elastic to cover this, so see how this is like a thick piece that it folded over onto there? You can't really because it's black. Okay. You take two pieces of fabric and you have to sew them together, right? Well, that's a unfinished edge. That looks ugly, right? So you take binding tape or elastic and you fold it over. So you take part of it here and part of it here. This is very thin, so I can't really show you, but basically you like bend it like that, right? And you sew it in place like that, and that's how you get it. So it's on either side. But if you don't have that, you can just take this and fold it in towards the inside and loop it like that, and then you get the finished edge on the outside. A thick piece. Yes, a thick piece. What's funny is that I have binding tape over here, I just don't feel like getting it. Due diligence. This is binding tape. Of course, again, black. It's just a piece of fabric that's been ironed. So you take your ends and then you would lay it inside and it would fold over and it creates this. Get it? So that's if you have a thick piece of elastic or binding tape and you want that line, in which case you don't need any seam allowance. But if you don't have those, or if you don't want that line and you just want the fabric, you can just fold it over. But if that's the case, you need to make space for that, right? That's this here. So here and here, you would make a seam allowance of about 1/2 inch, which means that you wouldn't cut straight to the line of the pattern. You'd cut about 1/2 inch away from it. That way that extra bit of fabric can fold over and you still have this size shape. Does that make sense? Like I said, I'm not used to explaining sewing to people. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm used to sewing things with the right size on the insides and then inverting it. You could do that with this as well. You could. You could make like a pillow thing. You could. Yeah, you could do that. In fact, since that's what you're used to, I'll do it that way. Since we're not doing the binding tape, I'll do it that way so you can see. But anyway, the first step, no matter how you're doing it, the first step's always the same. You're going to take these two crescent moon sides and you're going to sew these guys together on both things. So choose how you want your thing to be seen. And then you're going to go right side to right side, meaning the pretty pattern side to the pretty pattern side. Line them up properly. pretty pattern side to pretty pattern side, crescent moon to crescent moon. And you're going to just go whoosh. Sew that, and then same on the other side. Right side of fabric to right side of fabric, right side being the pretty side to pretty side, crescent moon to crescent moon, line it up, and then you're gonna sew it. So. And if you have a bigger face or like a more prominent nose, you'll need a bigger space for your face. So in that case, give yourself a little bit more of allowance when you're cutting out the pattern on the crescent side. That way you've got more fabric. You know, you're making a mask customized to your face, so you want it to be able to fit your dimensions. Oh, I didn't move the camera back. My bad. Hang on. There we are. Throw on my scissors. So we're gonna... Oh, what happened? What happened? This is why you buy quality thread. Is this the thread that was giving me issue last time? Because if so, I'm not using it. It is. Okay. I hate this thread. It gave me issue. I'm throwing it away and I'm getting different thread. Buy quality thread. Otherwise it breaks and it gives you issue and it's a headache not worth it. Let me find where my thread is. We'll rethread this and we'll be on our way. One, two, three, 4, 5, and thread. Okay, sorry about that. So, in and backstitch and in. Well, okay, so what we have now are two sewed together things for the nose. So this guy right here, see? That's what we've made. As well as this. Ta-da. See? So decide which one you want to be prominent. Or I guess right now we don't have to be honest. Because we're going to do it the way Jeffrey's used to, and we're going to sew it like a pillowcase. So at this point, you could do a few things. If you want the binding lining, so that's this edge here, where it folds over, or the elastic around the nose, or the one big loop, you would line up the mask the way you want to wear it. So, like this, liner, and this, and then you would place the elastic or the binding on either side, pinching either side, and you sew down there. So elastic, fabric, fabric, elastic. Follow? But we're going to do it as if we don't want binding tape or we don't have binding tape or elastic on these sides. So you're going to turn it as if it's a pillowcase that's inside out. So you line it up. And if you want to be really exact about it, you can go press your seams, which means ironing these down. But I have no excuse. You should. I'm not going to, but you should. You should press your seams. I am currently teaching you bad habits. So line it up like the pillowcase inside out. And leave one of the ears. So remember the ears are this side. So you have your seam in the center. It's like this. So the ear is the short end of the trapezoid here. So start at here and then end here. And we're just going to make a circle all the way around. So inside out. And you can pin it if you want. For sake of time, I'm not going to. But you can pin it to be exact. Especially if you're new. So, sew on, back stitch, lock it in, and we're just going to make sure that we're lining up properly. Because remember, you've got this weird circular trapezoid thing in the center. So you want to make sure that those line up properly. Boom. Because you're not sewing a straight line. You are sewing a bit of a curve. So it can be tricky for beginners. So go slow. Then when you get to the corner, you're going to make sure your needle is inside. If you're not hand stitching this, you're using a sewing machine. Needle is inside your fabric. Lift your foot, which is this guy right here, the metal bit, and then twist your fabric. That way you're on the straight line of the ear. Make sure it's all properly lined up. If you pinned it like a good seamstress or sewer, you wouldn't have any issue. If you're trash like me, you're gonna have to make sure you're lined up. So then go ahead down that line. Get to the end. Again, put your needle in, lift the foot, rotate the fabric, put the foot down, make sure you've lined up, especially that middle seam to middle seam, where your nose is going to go. Line the fabric up really nice. Again, if you've pinned it, it's already done for you. And if you pressed your seams, this would be so easy because all your seams are going to be laying flat. Pressing your seams means ironing them down. So to press your seam, it's good practice to, after you sew something, to lay the fabric down and to iron it. That way it lays nice and flat, it's easier to sew, it looks nicer, it saves you trouble down the road. That's the way you should do it. Do as I say, not as I do. Expedited stream version doesn't press seams. Exactly. I'm not pulling out an ironing board to press the seams in between each one. You know, this has to be somewhat entertaining. We're on Twitch. We're on Twitch, god damn it. We need to at least entertain the masses. I don't know. I feel like nowadays people would be like, an ironing stream? Yes, please. I want to just watch someone iron all the wrinkles out of my life. I mean, their clothes, and just like nice, straight, beautiful lines, no problems. just iron my troubles away, please. The world is stressed. Alright, so we're going to continue on, and now we're at that last bit. So we're going to backstitch to lock it, and forward. So the backstitch is on a sewing machine, how you make it so that your things don't come undone. It's how you finish your stitch. Okay, so now we clean our loose threads from the beginning to the end. Yes. So now we have this. We have a pillow, right? It's inside out. We have our center seam, which if it was pressed, it would be lovely like this, and it would lay flat, and it would look beautiful, but it's not because I didn't press my seams. You could also, once you press your seam, then sew down the center. That way the two pieces of fabric don't shift. I highly recommend that, especially if you're using a thicker fabric or fabrics that like are stretchy and you want them to be perfect and just sew. It's a nice extra step. All you do is take this and go whoosh. And if I pressed my seams, I would do that now. The trouble is, because I didn't press my seams, I'm worried that they're not properly lined up, and I don't want to quickly push this through my machine and have it be cockeyed when I turn it right side out. Although you would, okay, first, you would turn it right side out and then sew down your press seam, just to be clear. Okay, so we're going to open up our little pillowcase, and we're going to pull our sewing project inside out. Going to, if you can't fit your hand into it, take a knitting needle or a pencil and poke the corners to get them all there. Perfect. And voila, look at that. You've got this beautiful face mask with a slightly open end, and that's that. Okay. So at this point, you would fold this in like this, tuck the things in, which I can't do while I'm showing you on camera. I have to do it on my lap. One sec. You tuck it in. Like that. And then you sew down there. So then you have your mask, right? It's like a pillow. You can sew down that center line to keep it straight if you'd like. So here are some of your options. If you did the other style where you did your binding tape or elastic all the way around, leave about 3 inches of elastic as you're going around. So you're going around and you're sewing your elastic here, right? Boom, boom, boom. You get here. You don't want to continue here because you need your ear. So leave about 3 inches and then continue like that. So that's your little ear loopy. Follow? That's if you do it that way. This way, since we didn't go all the way around, we can either do the same thing, but starting from here, we can sew a little ear loopy in here and sew a little ear loopy in here. And do it that way. We could have only done this side and left this side open as well. And then we could have put these in like that as well, and that would hide the things. Or you could just do it on the inside, like right there, because that's going to be against your face, so no one will know. So it looked like that from the outside. Ear loopies. You can take elastic or string and put it here, and have the string here, and then another piece of string here, and then just tie it behind your head with those 4 pieces of string from either end. If you're in the US, remember to do your census. You can do it online. It's 1 per household, so if your household already did it, you're good. So you can do that. All sorts of ways. So I think the most easiest way to do it is the ear loopies. If it hurts your ears, you can always wear a headband and sew a button to your headband. So instead of going around your ears like this, you can attach it to your headband like this. So we're going to, let me see exactly how long this is, because I thought it was 3 inches, but I'm gonna check. I was wrong. It is 7 inches. Is it really? Yeah, it's 3 inches there. Wow. Alright. 7 inches. Yep. So, you're going to take your elastic and you're going to measure 7 inches. And cut. And 7 inches. And cut. So those are your 2 loopies. And then if you have your opened ends, whether you kept both sides open or just one, you can fold it in. Cooperate with me, fabric. Fold it in. Right? Hair loopies. So I'm going to pin this because it keeps on coming undone. I could not be bothered. Okay. I'll show you what I'm doing in a second. It's just easier for me to do in my lap real quick. Get in there, please. Okay. Go on. One more. Cooperate, please. So, you fold in the edges, because remember this is the open end of the pillow. So that's pinching that in, and then you tuck your elastic into the open end, and then we're just going to sew along here, and that will effectively close this open end as well as attach the elastic to our mask. So let's do that real quick. Ugh, is it not going because of my pins? Woo! Sorry. Take out these pins. How are you, Jedi? How's things? Okay, so we close the pillowcase and we put our elastic in there. So as you can see, the elastic's part of it. And then you just repeat on this side, which is why I'm thinking if you're doing the pillowcase method, you want to leave both ear ends open to make it easier. But if you forget, you can just take this and you can just sew this here and then just sew this here. So I'll show you both examples. So this is keeping the pillowcases open and sticking it in, and then it looks like that. Or you can do this by hand or in your machine, where you just take the corner and you kind of just tack it on. There's one. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. And remember to make sure not to twist your thing, that it's nice, lace, and flat. That you don't like accidentally go like this a billion times and go put it on it, because then it's going to be uncomfortable. So straighten it out, lay it flat, either hand sew it or pop it into your machine. Cool. Let's clean these extra threads. Snip, snip. Okay, so you have this. You can do it either all the way around and then just tack it here. Remember, no one sees that, so it doesn't really matter. Or you can leave the ends open and then go down the line and stick them in there. And you don't have to make loops. You can just put ribbon or string or whatever, and then have two of them sticking out and then tie them behind your head. So that's effectively a mask. If you use 100% cotton and or a tea towel, for whatever reason, it's about 75 to 83%, according to the CDC, as effective as the medical one. So not for medical use, only for your personal use, or if you're donating to, for example, veterinary offices that are donating their actual medical supply for humans, but they still need personal protection masks. That's what this looks like. And if it hurts your ears and you don't want to tie it around your head, you can always wear a headband and just put it on your headband and go like this. But it looks like this. Ta-da! So you can make your own masks with whatever cabbage or scrap fabric you have. You're supposed to only wear masks when you're sick. So in the future, even after this COVID-19 thing passes, if you're not feeling well and you leave your house, please wear a mask. It's just considerate. But as they're not testing everyone, at least in the United States, we don't know who is sick. So your mask protects me, my mask protects you. So if you haven't been tested and therefore don't know if you're negative or positive, because remember, this thing, you can have it and not have any symptoms, you should wear a mask. It's considerate of the person next to you. You don't know their medical history. You don't know who they're going home to. So we have to look out for each other. If it gives you peace of mind, fine. But yeah, protection! Your mom's not sick, and when she goes out, she wears a mask and gloves. To each their own. It's a wild time. If that's what she thinks is best, that's what she thinks is best. So feel free to make these. They're very easy. They don't require much fabric. They're a good beginner-friendly sewing project. I'll highlight this, that way you can look through the video. You can like make different patterns. You can take a plain one and put googly eyes on it, or like embroider a monster face or something, whatever pleases you. I like my one. I don't even know where it went. My black one. It's quilted and it feels really nice. And it's gone forever. It's off with the fairies. I don't know where it went. Ran away forever. It's gone with the fairies, away with the fairies. So, cheers!